Dude, my stocks have been hurting. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I'm down like 2,000 now.
Same. I have no money. I think I've done terrible. Every decision has not worked out. But the one good thing is, I think everyone's in the same boat. No one has made any good decisions. It's a down economy. There's no way anyone is up.
As long as everyone fails, I'm happy.
Hundred Thieves got it at the start. How about one?
Teams return as we close out the first round robin. We'll see who can shine post-Rift Rivals during our games today. The day starts with FlyQuest challenging Echo Fox, who bring Mike Young back to the LCS. We'll see which team can make a push as they both sit on the bottom half of the standings. Here we see some of the players making their way to the arena just moments ago. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we check in on the LCS stock market and look at some Rift Rivals lessons until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champion Select. Let's start with Rift Rivals. Cloud9, TSM, and Team Liquid returned from Rift Rivals, where North America came up short. Now, despite a scattering of highs that restored some hope for the region.
It's a very widespread scattering.
Yes.
The only hope, I think, for most people was Team Liquid, who looked pretty good. They went 3-1, and even that loss that they did suffer was still a pretty competitive game. So I think a lot of people saw them. They are still playing a different style, but at the very least, they seem like they can match up with the best in the world.
I mean, looking good is an understatement. I think Team Liquid is our crown jewel here in North America. If we're a family and our LCS teams are kids, Team Liquid's the guys that are going to college. They got a nice girl. They got their life figured out. The rest of the teams have picked up bad habits, dropping out of school. It's not looking good over here. So we really need to make sure that we hone and treasure what Team Liquid's got going on for them, because they are the best that we have to offer right now, and we just hope that the other teams can learn from them and improve everybody together.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can be still optimistic even if it was disappointing performance. Like, C9 was sick, so we didn't really get to judge them. I still think they probably would have struggled, but we don't really know what would have happened. Then TSM is in the middle of this jungle battle swap, and they were going up against people who were also swapping around and putting in their substitute players. So, you know, I think TSM still has a long way to go to catch up, but they still have, you know, some clear improvements to make.
All right, so while we can step away from Rift Rivals, acknowledging that Team Liquid is good, all right, what are the lessons that we can pull, either for C9, TSM, Team Liquid themselves, because of course there's still room for improvement, and the rest of the league as a whole?
I think we look at the game as not something that starts minute 0, you load into the map. It has to start in Champion Select. And that's where the European teams were beating us. They were definitely very strong in the Champion Select because they really wanted to make sure that they would win the game from the very get-go. So by picking champions that you just have no experience against, but that they have under their belt, such as the VODS you see here, you get away with a lot more because just no one seems to know what to expect out of it. That's an AP Shyvana that you see terrorizing a solo queue match.
It's like half AP, half AD with that Spirit Sojin. But
yeah. I mean, that's the thing,
Same
too.
concept.
It's not just like, oh, these are such unique picks and they are very strange in the current meta, but it's also the meta picks and how they use those in terms of their flexibility. Pyke being able to be played by all 5 G2 members, you know, kind of a joke, but also serious. The fact that people move around. You have, you know, your bot laner going mid to play the Yasuo. Those kinds of things are huge advantages in Champ Select.
Talia Pantheon is very serious. Griffin ran that in the finals against SK Telecom in the LCK last spring. So there's a lot of champions, and even somebody like a Nico that we see very prominently over in Europe is something that wins your lanes very early on, is super flexible, but we don't see that very often in NA. We don't have a priority for this champion. And that's just what I'd like to see, a little bit more priority on the champions that will win you the early game.
And I think the other thing that I noticed, at least in looking at those clips, is how differently the teams play the game based on the champions that they've selected, right? And so understanding with those unique picks or out-of-the-box picks, what are their win conditions? They can be different than meta win conditions.
Right, I mean, you can talk all day about the cool things they do in draft, but once they actually load in the game, you know, and it does go to 0-0 on the game clock, they need to still play aggressively, and that's also what Europe does super well, especially G2. Like this team, you know, you also talk about the game plan, the macro, and the right steps to go. They don't care about that. They throw the rule book out every time they play, and they go for the plays they think are gonna work, even if they're extremely risky. And so if you're gonna do that crazy Shyvana top thing, like make sure you actually play it aggressively and correctly, and you're using the Spear Shojin on it, and all those kinds of things that go with it, the pike, finding the resets, the skirmishes, and that's something that we are still struggling with as well.
Averaging up 3K at 15 minutes for G2 at Rift Rivals, that's absolute insanity.
That's actually way lower than their LEC standard, too. So.
we did it!
Our top 3 teams were a little better than
Then their
I
bottom
think you
three.
can really highlight why it is that we struggled so much and why LEC did really well. And when you look at NA teams making plays, a lot of them rely waiting in a brush and looking for your opponent to make a mistake, and then you capitalize on it, which if it doesn't go well, you've wasted a tremendous amount of time sitting there, wasting effort, not putting any map pressure. Whereas Europe, they don't go for that kind of play. They usually are pressuring you, enticing you to make a decision, and then when you make the wrong decision, then they'll capitalize on it and make the mistake, and after you made the mistake. So what ends up happening is that by being assertive in that way, you're always pressuring the opponent, you have tempo advantage, and if that wasn't enough, because you're always on the map and active, you're not wasting any time, you always have experience, which leads to those ginormous gold leads because they're always moving.
Right, at least even if your opponent doesn't make the wrong decision, you're still doing something in the case of the European teams, and so you don't lose anything for the effort. The Rift Rivals squads return to the league as the top teams, with Team Liquid reigning supreme at 6-2. TSM and Cloud9, they're in second alongside CLG and Optic. And then we have a tie for 6 between Golden Guardians and Clutch. And while our LCS teams continue to shuffle for position, Rick declared his independence from Iron 3 to reach Iron 2, and then unfortunately slipped back to Iron 3 just as quickly within 24 hours. But
the struggle.
It is the struggle of the depths of ranked solo queue, but he's put in the effort. The time is there, and hey, you may have been demoted out of Iron 2 this time, but you've proven to yourself that you can get there, and next time you'll stick it.
They say iron is the most slippery of metals, so.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said it.
I'm not going to fact check that one. We round out the first round robin today. Things kick off with the premiere of Echo Fox's new jungler, welcoming Mike Young back to the Rift as he faces FlyQuest. Then there's a battle at the top, Team Liquid versus Cloud9, with Golden Guardians and Optic facing off later in the day. Today's games, though, field a couple of roster moves, probably most notably from the Golden Guardians, who bring in a whole new bot lane to the LCS stage.
And this one's super surprising to me. FBI is someone who we saw at MSI and the playing stage, and he's a very impressive young player from the Oceanic region. And so you have to make the swap and taking Ole out and bringing Huhi in if you want to run him. But it does speak to their current situation where they're sitting at 4-4. They're probably not entirely comfortable with that, and they are looking to find some improvements for this team, and FBI is kind of the guy they're looking at now.
Yeah, for one, I can't wait for the memes that come out of this. But secondly, Huhi actually has been very impressive in the academy. He, right now, strange to say, is probably one of the most competent supports because the meta allows you to play this wide range of casters, this wide range of champions that no one can play against. Unorthodox supports are really very in the forefront right now, the conversation for what it means to be an S-tier support. And Huhi just so happens to be the guy that loves playing unorthodox style champions. He always did it in the mid lane, now gets to do it in support. His debut games were the Vel'Koz, the Luxes, the Karmas. So now, if he's got that going on for him in the bottom lane with an FBI
Aurelian
player,
sole support.
Well, I mean, even beyond the champions, he was always a really aggressive player, too. He would roam around the map. He'd go for all the crazy plays. So if you're trying to get some of that European influence into your game, he's actually a great guy to do it.
And the good news is you're not sacking a ton of LCS experience and making this swap, because Huhi has been one of the more veteran players within the LCS. Yes, FBI, newer to the stage, but you're not losing so much with Deftly and Ole coming out, and at least Huhi slotting back in to hopefully control the lane.
I mean, it's a lot of LCS experience from the mid lane. It's not a ton of support.
True,
so
true.
There's a little bit of concern for me about how this bot lane will deal with the pressure that other teams will throw to bot lane. The coordinated 4-man dives that become much more potent as you skill up in competitive play. It's probably not had to deal with that.
I think we're giving too much credit to teams pulling off coordinated 4-man dives.
Maybe.
Well, we'll see. Depends on who they're playing, right? Some of the other roster moves, interesting ones, of course, Cloud9, Licorice out due to injury. That post was made on Twitter recently, so if you're curious about that, he's swapping out at least for this week with Kumo coming in. Mike Young, as we mentioned, Echo Fox, they're going to bring in that roster shuffle, and to talk more about it, we're going to throw it over to the casters, Freak and Kobe, for their thoughts.
Thank you very much, Dash. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Mike Young back in the LCS. Game 1 has the return of a jungler synonymous with Rift Rivals victory, something NA has been lacking in the last couple of years. But if you were watching back in 2017, you could not escape his name. Mike Young. Young is in the LCS.
Yeah, and he's got a warm welcome. He's in for Rush here, who was struggling a bit in the LCS. Mike Young, however, in Academy in 2019. He's been on Team Liquid Academy, and he's been doing quite well. 4.3 KDA, up on average over 300 gold at 15 minutes, and he's matched up against FlyQuest in this match. I mean, FlyQuest currently sitting at the bottom of the standings, so they've probably been trying to cook up something to make their big run, right? They're 1-7, they've got nothing to lose, so we're hoping for some exciting stuff here. It's really about time, though, because this is between 9th and 10th place teams.
Yeah.
So both of them in the second round robin have to start the round now.
Yeah, and I think there's possibilities for it. Of course, there's 10 more games in the regular split. Keep in mind, FlyQuest still has championship points from a very solid spring split playoff run. So, like, you can kind of you don't have to make playoffs to make Worlds at this point for FlyQuest. You can improve enough to make the gauntlet run, and I want to see how they improve the next 10 games. On the Echo Fox side, I think these are the kinds of players that can make a very deep run. I think Solo, who's also back in the top lane, is very good. That Apollo Hako bot lane, I think, is still very good. Phoenix seems solid. If Mike Young slots in well, this is a very strong Echo Fox lineup.
Yeah, definitely agree. Super excited for this matchup. I think that's all that we've got for this preview. Send it back to the guys at the analyst desk.
I don't know if that's where we're going. We're going to face off in game 1 in about 18 minutes and 10 seconds. We're going to quick break. When we return, more LCS Countdown. See you.
Ahoy there, happy investors. If the tumultuous LCS stock market seas have you all topsy-turvy and a bit salty, your old pal Captain Greybeard is here to help you chart a course to smoother financial waters. We will start with the standard bearer from North America. Team Liquid. This aquatic workhorse has braved the Bermuda Triangle of Rift Rivals and still made it out with a winning record. And today, they could continue the rule of the high seas with a full broadside against Cloud9 and take the wind right out of their sails. If rough waters don't scare you, then it may be CLG for you. They're holding fast in second place and looking to prove to be a top team above the mast. But be warned, you scurvy bilgewater barnacles. They will be facing TSM and Team Liquid, so there's a chance your portfolio walks that plank and sends your financial futures down to the depths of Davy Jones' locker. For my way of thinking, it's time to join up with the Optic crew. They're in for fair weather and a strong tailwind with only 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, and Clutch Gaming on their horizon. Those are just a few helpful words from an old sea dog. But be safe out there, and hopefully you'll find your treasure island faster than Riv can say. Riv sells seashells by the seashore. Silly.
Where's the water?
Thank you very much, Riv. We've opened up the LCS stock market to more than just Mark and Crumbs. And if we look at the leaderboard, you will notice that one Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley is the sage of stocks, sitting atop the list, 6,413.
We're not even up there.
They edited us out.
Yeah,
Nice.
Didn't even make the top 10, Jets.
Yeah, but we were right under there. I think we were number
11 and 12?
Yeah,
Is that
right,
what you think?
right there.
Yeah, that list
About.
definitely doesn't go to like 20 with you guys all the way at the bottom of that
I
one.
don't think so.
Not quite. Mean Mr. Keen, you may have noticed, also up there with the Zale and Rumble
Copy this
Stew.
homework.
Only a $10
Yeah, the Saints
behind.
score. Wait a minute.
Yeah, something's peculiar there. But let's hear from the king of the LCS stock market ourselves. See if we get some sage advice. Zale! Hi living over there. How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, you know, it's going pretty well.
New digs.
Yeah, sitting here at the summer home. You know,
Right.
the main estate's still under renovation.
Oh, I understand. A recent influx of cash. Tell me, what is your secret?
Oh, well, you know, it's a very complex formula. I'm not quite sure you would be able to understand it, so I will kind of condense it down a little bit.
Oh, please do.
You
These
buy the
guys have
stocks
simple
that are
minds.
going to go up.
Oh,
I didn't get that.
Did you get that?
No, I didn't. That's not
My
what I
problem
was.
was. One more time for the idiots on the
You
desk.
buy the stocks when they're cheap, and then you sell them when they're worth money.
All right, did you get it that time?
I was really.
I was
Write it
doing it
down.
backwards.
Write it down.
I had heard that, but
I gave
got
you a
it.
notepad specifically
I
for
was
this.
dyslexia, you know.
Well, here's my next question, Azale. Since we're moving into a new buy period, I want your advice. Are you sticking with 100 Thieves, or are you going elsewhere? What's the call?
Well, I mean, 100 Thieves have been good to me. We've been through thick and thin. They got me, where I am today, and that is
Right.
why I am selling them. They have Team Liquid and TSM and Optic. Are you crazy?
I don't know.
Get rid of them.
Are you crazy?
Well,
Apparently,
Yeah,
I'm not
looking like
doing
it. Looking like it. So then what's the next big bet, Azale? Where do we go if we don't go to the Thieves?
Well, it's simple. So you have to look at how a team is doing right now, what they're worth, and where you think they're gonna go. Echo Fox have got an easy schedule. They just picked up Mike Young. They've got 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, as well as Golden Guardians these next couple weeks. If you're gonna bet, why not bet big? I'm going Echo Fox.
All in on Echo Fox. Azale, I wish you the best of luck in this next 2 weeks of the LCS stock market.
Betting big, but that's what I did.
Did you bet big?
I kept buying the highest stock, right? You buy what's expensive, buy high, sell higher.
As long as it keeps going higher, that's all that matters. With not one, but two excellent guides to the wilds of the LCS stock market. Let's get a lay of the land, see how the teams fare at the moment. There's TL, TSM, and C9 all sitting atop the table. Another little pack of CLG, Golden Guardians, and Optic, and then the other 4 teams chasing them up the standings. But you can see those slight upticks for each of those top 3 teams coming out of the week 4.
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves is so high compared to where you think they'd be. They're actually above Clutch, who has a better record than them. So that just speaks to the quality of opponents that they were beating during that streak.
Went on quite a run there. All right, well, with these prices in mind, we're going to take a look at your portfolio, starting with Crumbs.
That's not mine. That's not mine.
Team Liquid.
I found that one.
What do you mean? You found this?
What do you mean
you just found 7 Team Liquid stocks on the ground?
Yep, found them, picked them up. Listen.
What is the reasoning behind
They're
this?
the only team that after Rift Rivals have faith.
Okay.
I have just
We're not playing Europe anymore.
So you're calling what, an undefeated run?
Yeah, exactly. I'm
streak
thinking a win streak's about to come from Team Liquid because they're just
okay.
They're realizing we got to button down the hatches here and really start trying hard.
So four wins straight, maybe the stock will rise like a whole 12 points in value.
You saw how little it went up in the last 3 weeks. It was like just that much. So if you hold on to them, they win streaks till the end of the season. Maybe you'll recoup your losses.
Well, Crumbs did not take Azale's advice. I have faith that Mark, bigger brain,
a little
will
closer.
have done so. 8 Optic stocks, so a little bit further down your board. Why?
Right now, there's not that many easy opponents. Even though you heard Azale talking about Echo Fox, they still are not that great. So even if their opponents are easy, they're also, a lot of people think, are pretty good.
And they're bringing a new juggler.
Right. For me, you see they have FlyQuest, they have 100 Thieves, and Clutch Gaming after Golden Guardians today. So for Optic, they have very winnable games. It's worth noting that a lot of those non-playoff teams are still on a bit of a heater. Clutch and 100 Thieves have been improving. But hopefully that just means they're worth more when Optic can beat them.
I will say I bought Optic stock 2 weeks ago as well. I have not sold.
How'd that go for you?
Well,
you have to.
You did sell. That's why you only have
Team
TL stocks now.
No, that's all about this week only. This week I only bought TL. I haven't sold anything else.
What?
Yeah.
You can't buy new things unless you sell the old ones.
So I have to get rid of all my old stock.
That's the value of your portfolio. Have you been playing this entire year without understanding this game?
I'm still beating Mark.
Are you kidding me?
I'm still beating Mark.
Oh my!
I think at this point, it's like an auto simulator. Like he doesn't actually know what he's doing, and it's just happening for him.
This is baffling. All right, I'm gonna have to get a whiteboard and break this down for you later. I'll walk you through the game at a future date.
I am shell-shocked.
My goodness. Well, as you picked up Optic, I think it's also important to note that Crown is back in the lineup because he was out just this last week, and so perhaps bringing him back in along with Meteos will help them kickstart another run up the standing. Let's go ahead and look at your predictions, though. See if they line up with your investments, because they don't always. Crumbs going with FlyQuest over Echo Fox, so calling them to get their second win of the split here in game 1 of the day, and then 100 Thieves over TSM later. We're going to get into that. Let's talk FlyQuest Echo Fox first.
This one, to me, feels pretty coin flippy, so I totally respect going for FlyQuest. Echo Fox did just bring in Mike Young. I'm a little optimistic on that, but I still think it's super close because they've been pulling solo out. They've switched everyone else around. It's hard to believe that they're going to have too much teamwork in their first week together.
Right.
Yeah,
okay, so then why FlyQuest? Is it because of that move?
So, yeah, it is because Mike Young is coming into the team. He was a shot caller in the previous team. To be a shot caller in the new team, it takes you time, like 100 Thieves with Amazing. It took him time to figure out how to upgrade 100 Thieves. So the same thing is going to happen with Mike Young if he is to bring up Echo Fox to a new level. However, they're also bringing in Solo back in. So last week, or last 2 weeks, it was Lorlo that played in where they won their LCS match. So now they continue to change things up, and I don't think that Echo Fox is going to be able to figure it out today, which is why I go with FlyQuest.
The one thing for that I have against FlyQuest is they won't figure it out today. FlyQuest hasn't figured anything out all split long, and we'll see if things have changed. Hopefully the break has given them that time, but I'm very pessimistic on FlyQuest, because once you enter one of these negative tailspins from like, oh, we were the 4th place team last
Now we're
split
1-7.
1-7. Your hopes disappear, and the motivation sometimes is impossible to get back.
In a lot of ways, you're playing a salvage game right now for the rest of your summer split. Of course, maybe looking at the gauntlet as your way towards Worlds. But with that, I also want to jump over to this 100 Thieves prediction over TSM, because I realized TSM didn't impress us at Rift Rivals, but you're counting on 100 Thieves to continue their upward climb in the standings and take down one of the perennial powerhouses of the LCS and TSM.
Yeah, I don't think you can call TSM a powerhouse at this point.
That's
yes,
fair.
compared to the rest of the teams in the league, the record is pretty up there, but they did not look good at Rift Rivals at all. Like, the amount of things that I just did not like out of them were so many, whereas 100 Thieves continues to be on the up and up, and I believe that the more time you give this team, the better they're going to become, because they actually figured out the formula that works for them. They've got good shot calling. They're making moves that a lot of our top teams aren't, at least on the macro level, and I think that says more than half of our teams, including TSM.
I agree. TSM did not look good at Rift Rivals. They're not Rift Rivals. They're playing 100 Thieves. So I'm not that worried about it, as well as like when you look at how they individually match up, I think there's a lot of bad mismatches for 100 Thieves. I like the recent upward trajectory. I just don't think it works here, where Broken Blade will do great into Fake Out, in my opinion. Bjergsen will do excellent into Someday. Ryu, and I think the bot lane is one where it kind of neutralizes out and not much will happen, so I just don't see that.
I also want to point out that if these predictions go well, this is where I separate myself from the herd, get away from StatsBot.
Yeah, because I think I'm the same as StatsBot, so you got to be
we are the same as StatsBot. I am StatsBot, and you're 2 behind.
Oh,
No,
in terms of record, but in terms of today's predictions, yes,
I can't
StatsBot
gain on it.
and Mark are on the same page. Well, heading into Game 1, Invert is hoping that playing against Mike Young will enable the team to transition their scrim results to the stage.
Mike Young has been in the LCS in the past, and I think he's shown good results, but he's not going to do that today. I think we have a pretty good game plan, and I think we're going to exploit the fact that perhaps, being a new player on the roster, he may not fit in immediately with all these other pieces. For us, we want to look to the second half and obviously get wins. That's, thing number one. And then the other aspect that we're really looking at is making sure that our scrims, which feel really good right now, and that we're learning a lot from, translate properly onto the stage, so that we can actually feel good about our stage games, feel good about how we're performing, and make sure both those things stay consistent.
Forever a challenge for our teams here, translating scrim results to the stage, but hoping that, as you mentioned, with Echo Fox making this switch up, Mike Young kind of trying to find his footing with the team, they can exploit that, at least early on, against Echo Fox and pick up a win.
Solid game plan, exploiting the current weakness that a team has, and even if he slots right in, there's still going to be gaps in that, so I like what FlyQuest is doing. At least the coaching staff understands what they need to do.
Well, we've heard from them, but Crumbs, I want to hear directly from you, your strategy for FlyQuest, picking up a win here with our win condition.
Well, they haven't done this in a while, but cracking that Nexus.
All right,
don't forget,
that's a good
you
step.
really need to go for that FlyQuest.
Detail.
I know it's been a while. Make sure you hit it. Other than that, though, they really need to let these players shine in what they're best at. And I think that G2 and a lot of the European teams in their interviews were very candid about what that means. It means that if your players have tendencies that end up losing games, but those tendencies 8 out of 10 times actually win you those games, you have to roll into them even more. So somebody like a Wild Turtle, yes, he flashes in and still that meme is alive, but he's the guy that when he goes well, just wins you the games flat out. And then you got a player like Viper who has the same idea, very aggressive champions that are very aggro that maybe, again, 6 out of 10 times it works. The other 4 it fails. But if you practice on them, then you're going to have champions and players that are explosive and win you games. And as long as you can then learn to shrink how much damage you take in those losses, then you start making a great team. That's what FlyQuest needs to do.
Unlock your players to do what they're good at. Mark, what's the response here for Echo Fox?
Simple, scale.
Boy,
Just do what you did at the end of last season. Whoa. Don't put more words in there. I put scale. I did not pick a scaling comp.
But would those two things not go hand in
I'm
hand?
not saying you're wrong, but don't put words in my mouth, graphics team. Or producer, whoever made that decision.
All right.
But yeah, they picked a lot of late game stuff in the previous season to pick up a lot of wins. You're going up against the other last place team right now.
There you go.
Thank you.
Scale.
With an exclamation
With
point.
an exclamation point.
Look at that live production.
I love it.
I love it.
But yeah, I think
Fastest fingers in
I'm
the
not
bed.
saying this will beat every team in the league, but you're playing against the worst team in the league right now. Just pick some late game assurances that your team is already kind of good at. You don't have time to work on all the early game playmaking with Mike Young after 1 week, so just find something good late game.
All right, enough from us. The teams are ready, so we're going to toss it out to the Battle Arena for the call.
Thank you very much, analysts and Dash. Welcome to Battle Arena. FlyQuest hats in full effect here. We're going to hope they can turn their record around. 1-7 has been a rough start, but they can certainly go up from here. Echo Fox have switched out their lineup. They have a new jungler in Mike Young and hoping that his replacement into Rush is going to make things go well for them.
Yeah, they've been trying to make changes all split long. To put Panda in, they